Welcome to the REthink Sales Show. My name is Derek Kelly. I'm here with Jim Shorkey. And Jim, often as people see us interacting, talking about sales, you as the sales expert and me as someone learning, I hear a lot of people saying, what's your advice on sales? And I realize one of the things I talk a lot about that you've taught me to have a huge value for is referrals. And I realized as I'm coaching different people through this process of learning how to sell, as I'm learning from you and people like Brad, just recognizing, wow, referrals is huge. And many people, often they learn the basics of sales, but they forget to build a system to generate referrals. So what did that look like? What did referrals look like for you? Did you have a system, and why so important?
How you can be the greatest salesperson on the planet.
First of all, I don't want to have a system to generate referrals. I don't.
Yes.
So I want you to really think about this, okay? A referral. So I would prefer to talk about what we call repeats. Repeat is somebody who bought a car from us previously
Yes.
and is now back to buy a second, third, whatever the
Yes.
case may be, more than one car. So that's a repeat.
Yes.
And a referral is meaning somebody who, and they don't necessarily have to buy a car from us to refer somebody to us. So referral is somebody that is recommended by another client in some way, shape, or form to come see us about a car or about service and parts, whatever the case may be. And so when you think about that scenario, and please, audience, try to pause and think about this. What does a repeat customer or a referral represent? What does it represent?
A relationship.
It's a result. And isn't our company called Results from Thinking?
That's right.
Isn't our program called Rethink You? So a referral is a result.
Yes.
A repeat client is a result. And interestingly, when we have a client come into our dealership who we never met, the close percentage in my day, 30%. In other words, 10 people come in, I never met them before, they're just here because of whatever. The ideal closing, meaning somebody bought a car, was between 30% would be really good and 20% would be bare minimum. But somewhere between 20 and 30%, I got out of the business in 2016, but I think the number now is north of that. But that said, the repeat client bought a car from us before, the referral recommended by somebody else, they close at double.
Yes.
So in other words, would close at 40 to 60%. And 10 of those customers were repeats and referrals. That means you're going to sell between 4 and 6 cars. And if 10 of those customers were off the street, never met us before, we're going to close between 20 and 30, or
2 and 3.
2 and 3 cars, excuse me. So it's double. And so we want to, as a company, as a business, we want to do everything we possibly can to cultivate that scenario of repeats and referrals. Here's the system. But I don't like it to be a system because that sounds too strategic to me. And I just want it to be a way of life.
Yes.
I want it to be a culture. Does that make sense? A culture. And so just think about what I've said before on these videos, Derek. Think about it. Number one goal of the Jim Shorkey Family Auto Group, love the customer.
Yep.
Second number one goal of the Jim Shorkey Family Auto Group, love the team. Third goal, almost number one, keep it very humble. Now, if we do those 3 things successfully from the heart, what do you think is going to happen to the repeats and referrals?
They're going to go up.
There's your system. Okay? Do the right thing. Be kind. Don't be judgmental like the timeshare people.
Yes.
How many people have you referred to those people?
0.
How many times have you gone back to do more business?
0.
And here's the part that a lot of people miss with this. Somebody calls you today and says, Derek, I saw your name on a list. You were down there talking to these people about the timeshare. Tell me what you're going to say.
It was terrible.
They're going to lose business. So it's worse than that.
Yeah, I was going to actually say I refer people away from them.
By not loving the customer, loving the team, and keeping it very humble, we're actually working in opposite. So where we had a deal, we might lose a deal. The person might come into our dealership. We do our thing. We sell them a car. They go home and they're talking to mom and dad, says, you did what? You bought a car from the Jim Shorkey Family Auto Group? Those people are the biggest idiots ever. I can't believe you did that. Why didn't you call me first? And so they called the next day. You know what? We changed our mind. We're not going to buy the car. So now you just lost the deal.
Yeah.
So not only are you not going to get repeats and referrals, there's a strong possibility
Wow.
that you're going to lose business that you would have had you just done things the right way.
Yeah.
So I'd rather not approach it from a system perspective,
Yeah.
because that to me it sounds too strategic. I'd rather approach it from a heart
That's right,
perspective.
yeah.
And so that said, if I want to, so when somebody does send me a customer or come back to see me about another car, that is a result. I've already said that, but it's a result because they're telling you that they trust you.
Yes.
So that's a question you need to ask Derek Kelly. They're telling you that they trust you. Now, if we're going to build a system, shouldn't we build that system around cultivating trust?
Wow.
Now you have the secret.
This is good, Jim.
Now you have the secret. Now, please.
Because Jim, let's get deep here. This is what I like. I remember being stuck probably 2 or 3 years ago. I called you. I said, "What should I do?" You said, "Have you called the clients you've served before?" And so I sat. I took an afternoon. I wrote down 50 names, and I said, "Oh, I worked with this person. I worked with this person. I worked with this person." And I simply called. And out of loving the customer, I said, "Hey, Jim, I really loved working with you. We're growing our team. We're growing our business. Do you know anyone who could use our services?" You know what happened from those 50 phone calls?
I know. Yes, I do.
Yeah. I
You
didn't
did
get
some business.
I didn't get all of those calls
No, of
back.
course not.
I got 5 or 6 good leads from
Beautiful.
that. I
Beautiful.
called those, probably closed half of them.
Beautiful.
And those clients have turned into long-term relationships.
And they start referring and repeating.
Yes.
Per se. So if we can figure out a system to cultivate trust, then that would be the answer to your question.
Yeah.
And so now how do we do that? Active listening. Now, active listening, meaning we listen with our eyes and we listen with our ears and we care.
Yeah.
You love the customer, love the team, keep it very humble. So we start off with, in this process, and this is what we did. When I was, leading the ship, so to speak, commanding the ship, we trained on this literally every day. We would say to the client, folks, we have roughly somewhere around 1,000 cars on the lot right now. And if we took and looked at every single car for 1 minute, that's 1,000 minutes. Okay. Do you realize how long that would take? That's 30 hours. Okay.
Yeah.
You don't want to spend 30 hours looking at cars, do you? No. Well, why don't we do this? If we could just take a few minutes, I'd like to ask you a few questions. There's no obligation. I'd like to ask you a few questions. And that way I can narrow it down as to what exactly I think we should look at. So, Derek, would you mind if I asked you those questions? Would that be okay?
Absolutely. Yeah.
Okay. So, in this process that we call car, that we call buying, owning, today, tomorrow, 10 years from now, this process that we call your relationship with your car. Can I ask you what is most important to you?
Most important to me?
Safety. Okay. Would you mind if I wrote that down?
Sure.
Because I don't want to forget. I forget stuff. Safety is number one. Okay.
That was interesting, Jim. You said, "Do you mind if I write that
Exactly,
down?"
yeah.
Instead of looking, I feel like sometimes you can look like you're taking notes almost.
Ask permission.
Yeah. The permission thing feels important.
It's really important. Okay. Safety. Derek, next question. What's next most important to you?
I would say space, since I have 3 kids. We had this tiny little car, and I would like something. If we're traveling I'd like some.
Space. I write that down. Number 2. What's next most important to you?
I would say after that, like features, bells, whistles, extra cameras,
Features.
stuff like
Can
that.
you be a little more specific?
Like nicer seats, extra cameras or technology, Apple CarPlay, that kind of.
I'm just going to write nice stuff.
Yeah.
Lots of features.
Yeah.
Okay. Wonderful. What is next most important to you?
Drivability is important. Being able to take tighter turns.
Off role play. I'm listening. I'm watching. I'm very focused on you. I'm listening with my ears and I'm listening with my eyes. Ladies and gentlemen, pay attention here. This is important. What is next most important to you?
I think that's pretty much it. Yeah.
So you said safety, features, and drivability. Now, I have one final question. It's actually 3, beyond the obvious. You mentioned that safety was important to you. Can you tell me why?
Yeah, I want something where if there's a side collision or a back collision and I have car seats in the car, I want to make sure my kids are safe. Want to make sure the airbags deploy. Want to make sure it's top safety pick. My children are young.
And I don't want to put words in your mouth, but Derek, are you telling me that the safety is really all about your children versus yourself?
I think I'm more likely to recover than our 2-year-old would be. So,
Do you see what's happening here? This is live. This is role play. We're not buying a car here today, but he's getting emotional on me. He's getting emotional because he's thinking about his kids. You can't talk about your kids without thinking about them. Now, you mentioned features. Number 2 was features. Beyond the obvious, why are features so important to you?
For me, features are important because if we go on a longer trip and I have kids in the car and my wife's in the car, I want people to feel comfortable, right? I want to be able to have nice headlights that light up so we can see at night so we don't hit a deer, because in Pennsylvania, there's a lot of deer.
Especially where you
right?
live.
Yeah. And so I want to make sure that those features enhance the safety, basically.
Ladies and gentlemen, you're asking me how to do this. I want you to answer this question. I'm going to look at the audience while I ask it. Can you talk about deer without seeing the deer?
I saw the deer.
Okay. Where was it?
More like suburban country
See, I just
road.
took you back there.
Yep.
We're getting into emotion.
And I could see the deer at night coming out of the trees. And if my headlights if my brights had only been a little bit brighter,
And when you see one deer coming out of those woods at night, what should you do?
turn on my high beams and
Okay, one there, but what do you know is going to happen next?
more deer.
More deer. We all know that. All right. And so the last thing you mentioned was you said safety, features, and then you said drivability. Tell me more about that, please.
Yeah, just the ability to make when it gets icy around here, right?
It can.
Right. Yeah. And just wanting to have that tight turns in case, sometimes you slide. Want to be able to make that tight turn to stay on. I had an accident one time where we were on a back road and I wasn't able to turn tight enough. So we just went off the road a little bit. No big deal. Did a little bit of front end damage.
Could have been.
But it got fixed and everybody was okay. We didn't have kids at the time. But if I can have a vehicle that's safer and turns tighter, then hey.
But do you see, to me at least, everything you've said is safety. You want a safe car, so that's safety, obviously.
Yeah.
And you want a car that has features for safety. And it seems like you want to have a car that's drivable for safety reasons as well. So this cat's concerned about safety. We have a very clear idea now of how to handle this.
We know car accidents are a big deal.
They are a big
take
deal.
a lot of
They
people's
sure are.
lives. And
You're getting very emotional on me,
Yeah.
which is really what we want. If you want to do more business, we've got to get the client off of logic and onto emotion. And so that's what I've done here. Okay, so we've got, it sounds, and I'm not being silly here, Derek, this is live. It sounds like we're talking about safety.
yeah, we're talking about safety.
Is there anything else that is really important to you in your relationship with this car?
No, I think I'm just trying to decide between an SUV and a van. They're both bigger vehicles. So again, they're safer than a smaller car, I would hope.
If you had your preference intuitively, would you prefer me pulled on an SUV or would you prefer me pulled on a van?
I think we'll pull down the van, Jim, because I know that people often buy SUVs because they look nice and they're fancier. Like that
that's
adds
what
the
I think.
cool.
I
A lot
do.
of people, they say like a large percentage of people would just buy an SUV because it looks nicer, right? But to me, it's about practicality.
I have a vehicle in mind, and we're gonna have a look, and let's have some fun.
All right, let's
Does
do
that sound
it.
good?
Yeah,
I just answered your question.
and you built trust. Right?
Oh yeah, oh absolutely. So it's going to be a great because I'm satisfying what you want. I'm not shoving a car down your throat. I'm satisfying what you want and need.
Yeah.
And your reasons why. And so I'm going to pull the car down. We're going to look at it, and I'm going to go over my list again. Say, Derek, you had said you wanted safety for this reason, and you want to drive. And we're going to go through the 3 things. Is there anything else you thought of in the meantime? And he's going to say yes or no. Okay. And then I hope you understand that I'm going to ask you to buy the car today.
Yeah.
What do you think?
Yes, let's do it. Obviously, we talked through the price, which we did
Absolutely.
that in
Can't sell
in
your
a
car
role
unless you
play
make it happen
before.
on a price.
Yep.
Can't sell you a timeshare unless you make it happen on a price.
Right.
See, the people in the timeshare, they really didn't care about your wants and needs.
No.
What did they care about?
They just wanted to make a sale.
No. Come on.
They
I
cared
just
about themselves.
I just gave you the hint. Their wants and needs.
That's themselves. Yeah.
Yeah. But more succinctly,
Yeah.
they didn't care about your wants and needs as a client. They cared about their wants and needs as the
I need to
salesman,
make a
as the
commission.
That to me is trickery. And I'm not going to do that. I'm not interested.
But I bet the way you sold me, and I buy the car and that works out. I bet if that goes well, and I'll take it back to
gonna go well.
have a dealership service
It's
in,
gonna go.
and they're great and suddenly I'm a repeat customer. Or I go call my parents and they say, oh, where should we look?
With due respect, if
Right?
you come back to me and say, you know what, I got the car, I love the car, I've had it for a month now, but you know what, it doesn't have this one thing. I said, Derek, I'm not being a jerk here, but I asked you. You didn't tell me that was important. Had you told me that, I would have pulled on a different van. So now we have a problem.
Yeah.
And that's why I was asking you those questions, but I can't take responsibility for the fact that you didn't
You can't
tell
read
me.
my mind.
And-
Right.
No, I can't.
Yeah.
And so I would have a very nice, polite conversation, but I would not take responsibility for the fact that it doesn't have a backup camera when you didn't ask
Right.
me for a backup camera. And I showed you the van. I didn't use trickery.
Right.
If you'd have said to me, hey, by the way, does this have a backup camera? No, it doesn't. We better go find one with a backup camera. Is that important to you? Well, yes, no. Well, what do you think? Do you want it or don't you? And now, a month later, you're not going to come back and say, you know what, this doesn't have a backup camera. And I'm mad. Derek, don't you remember we stood in the parking lot and you said you didn't care? So if you want to call it a backup camera, then we're going to have to make a trade. And that's not going to be an easy thing to do, quite frankly. So, but if I do things the right way, you are going to refer me business and you are going to come and see me again about another car. And that is the essence of the system for how we would cultivate repeats and referrals is by treating the client properly that's in front of you right now and with respect and love and courtesy and really focusing on them, not on you. They don't care about your fast start. They don't care about your trip contest. They don't care about your bonuses. They want to buy a car and they want it to satisfy their wants and needs. You think I'm right?
Yes.
They want the car to do what they want it to do.
Yeah.
They don't care about that.
Yeah, because they're living with it for the next 10 years. You're not.
Yeah, I can tell you that I do have a van. I can speak to you on that. And I love my van. I love everything about my van. I really do. When I'm in it, Amy and I, and we're old farts. And we get this minivan. And I said to Amy just the other day, I said, do you want to get another van at some point? She says, I really do. We love our van.
Yeah.
We can put the dogs in there, the grandkids, they're safe, all the safety features. We love our van. And I have my sports cars.
Yeah.
But they're not kid friendly.
Yeah.
Let's face it.
Right. No, I've just seen this system, for lack of a better word, right, work in my life. I thought, you're always teaching me how do we scale something. So I thought, wow, that was so successful when I made a list of 50 clients and called and said, and I was genuine.
Yeah.
You know, if it wasn't a good process with someone, I'm probably not calling them asking, hey, who would you refer us to? But for the folks that it was, which is probably not north of 90% of the people we've served.
You have the
right?
task.
I say, hey, and I've started to do that once a quarter now because now there's a new group of people we've served or there's somebody we haven't talked to for a few months and I just want to catch up and hear how they're doing and also ask if they know anybody.
And let me set you straight on something today. I want to be very clear about this. I am here to sell you a car today.
Yes.
I am proud of that. And when I do sell you a car, I am going to make a profit. I am proud of that. And when I do make profits, I use those profits to pay my bills within the business. I am proud of that. And after I pay all my bills within the business, if there's money left over from those profits, then that's where I get paid. That's how business works. I see people out there talking about profit and how they almost like it's unethical to make a profit. What's unethical? What's immoral? To run a business that doesn't make a profit. Because if you run a business that doesn't make a profit, if you run a business that loses money, it is not viable. So stop the nonsense.
Yeah.
Stop the nonsense. Running a business that doesn't make a profit is immoral. That's how we pay our people.
Yes.
Should our people keep their jobs?
Yes.
Should our people have a sense of upward mobility within that job scenario?
You've told tons of stories about this. We don't need to get into all that, but you had tons of stories where your profit was probably not as good in certain years as it was in other years, but you had that cushion to keep your people employed.
Yes, and what we did was we doubled down on love the customer, love the team, keep it very humble. And I want to make sure this isn't misinterpreted. What I said was I don't have to make a profit. It's not necessary. I have a major chill here right now. I said that I didn't have to make a profit, that I was in a position where I could lose a substantial amount of money. And I knew, because I understand the accounting very well. I understand the balance sheet and I understand the profit and loss statement, the income statement is called. I understand these things very well. And I knew based on things I had done previously that I had enough money in the bank, it's called working capital, that I could sustain a loss. So I told my people very clearly during the Great Recession, 2008, that's what you're referring to. I said, I'm prepared to lose this much money. It was a big number. But in order to run this business, here's what we're going to do. And we decided to up our training, to up our service, to take better care of our customers, to take better care of our team. That's where love the customer, love the team, keep it very humble comes from, is that thought. It was called I called it the prosperity plan. At the beginning of the Great Recession, which was when President Obama was president, not his fault, by the way, I decided that I actually called it the recession plan. And I was thinking about it. I thought, you know what? I'm going to change that. I called it the prosperity plan.
Yes.
So I went in. That was one of the first things I said was that I'm prepared to lose money, but I'm going to tell you right now, I expect you to do certain things. And if you don't do these things, you're going to have to make room for somebody else. I told this to my team. We're going to train. We're going to treat the customers right. We're going to call them back. We're going to do all the things that we know we have to do. So it was like a 3-page document. Derek, I did say I would lose money. I made more money as a company during the Great Recession than ever in the history of the Jim Shorkey Family Auto Group. As a matter of fact, I made more money during the Great Recession than the previous 5 years combined. Wow. And that's a fact because I had the right idea in mind. So to do business without a profit, in my mind, is immoral. You take that however you want. It's immoral. Because when somebody loses their job, wow, that's terrible. Yeah. You ever lost your job? Not a fun thing. You ever had a problem where you can't pay your bills because there's not enough money? I didn't want to do that to my people. So doing business without a profit is immoral in my mind. You think what you want. You comment however you want. But I'm going to do business at a profit.
Yes.
Point blank, and I'm proud of it.